architects of Obamacare. His name is Jonathan Gruber. He says you the voter, you are stupid for passing it. Just listen to this.
This bill was written in a tortured way to make sure CBO did not score the mandate as taxes. Lack of transparency is a huge political advantage. And basically, call it the stupidity of the American voter or whatever. But basically, that was really, really critical to getting the thing to pass.
All rise. When I say that, you know who's here. His name is Judge Andrew Napolitano. Now, what's this? A lack of transparency, deliberate, almost lying to the electorate. There's nothing unconstitutional about that.
Well, I don't know, Stuart. Let me sort of flesh it out. He may really have opened up a can of worms that he could never have imagined, because there is a principle of law that if the instrument, if the document being construed is ambiguous, it's construed against the drafter. So we now have the actual drafter himself, the human being who cobbled the words together that Mrs. Pelosi accepted and the president accepted and the Senate accepted, all Democrats voting for it, saying we were intentionally vague. That means when the language is challenged, as it soon will be in the Supreme Court has a presumption to grant the challenge and to deny the claims of the challenger. Stated differently, can the IRS grant these certain tax credits without express authorization in the document? One circuit court says yes, another says no. If the Supreme Court says no, Obamacare collapses because of the ambiguity that this character just praised.
So politically, that was a disastrous videotape. And legally, it implies liability with Obamacare. I mean,
you know what he just did to himself and to his cause? The people challenging the statute could very well say, before we perfect the challenge, we want to go back and take one more deposition. Because we just heard on the news that a year ago, this is October of 13, this tape just came out over the weekend.
Yep.
I think Fox News are the only people talking about the tape. The whole country should be talking about this admission. We just learned that the statute was intentionally written vaguely so as to dupe you, justices of the Supreme Court, about whether this was a tax or not. Do you remember the hook on which the court hung its hat in order to find it constitutional? It's a tax. Do you remember the challengers said it's not a tax? The government said it's not a tax. The Supreme Court said it is a tax.
The Supreme Court wrote...
So the Supreme Court basically took an argument that wasn't in front of it and used that argument to bless the constitutionality of the statute.
I just want to open... I'm sorry. Hold on a second.
Okay.
I just want to open up to you because Charles and I were talking during the break before you walked in the studio.
Right.
President Obama's really getting beaten up. I mean, he's under heavy criticism from all sides. And it occurs to me that maybe we should lighten up on some of the harsh criticism of the president because he is the president of the United States, and we don't want him to look weak in the face of our rivals and enemies. Charles, what do you say?
Well, I think he does look weak. I think he was upstaged by the Chinese premier and Putin already over in Asia. Having said that, I do think politically it would be smart for opponents of that ideology to focus more on the ideology now than the president, because in my mind he's a lame duck. And the ideology lives, and we want to make sure it's extinguished by 2016.
Don't go after the lame duck. Go after the ideology.
Make sure we go after the ideology. Make sure, we're not destroying President Obama and Elizabeth Warren strolls into the White House, in my mind.
I really don't know what the Chinese had to gain by clobbering him in their state-owned media just as his plane was landing in Beijing.
And they did.
They really did, and not a word came out in his defense. Not there. Not here.
No, I think that's bad. I mean, I don't see that as strategically good for the United States of America when one's president travels overseas and is greeted with a barrage of withering criticism. In fact, they were making jokes about them.
And they make him wear, of course, they all wore it, what to us is a ridiculous costume. I don't know how that...
It looked like something from Star Trek, right?
Could you imagine Her Majesty in that ridiculous costume?
I rather like that. No, come on.
I would like to see Mr. Varney in that purple costume.
That'll never happen. Purple's not my color, as you well know.
Purple is regal, is it not?
Yes.
Philip, purple is ours.
Only the Queen, only the ruling monarch in Britain can wear purple. Did you know that?
What color is that tie?
Well, I'm not in Britain. I'm not the monarch. It's mauve. You say mauve in America, don't you? M-A-U-V-E.
Never heard of it.
You know what we say?
Pink.
Purple.
Purple. Purple and pink.
Yeah, wait, I've got some more for you. I mean, this segment's not over. I'm going to read the prompter here. The Supreme Court will rule on subsidies. Dana Milbank, arch-liberal, in the Washington Post, suggested it will discourage people from enrolling due to the threat from the Supreme Court that it'll upend Obamacare. So why enroll now when Obamacare may come to an end because of the Supreme Court next year?
You know what? He's got a very interesting argument. And Charles knows this better than I. You know this better than I. People making economic decisions in the future based upon the facts that are available to them today. Right now, the odds of the Supreme Court denying the IRS the ability to grant those credits are probably 3 in 5.
Really? Wow.
If that happens, the statute cannot stand economically the way it is now without the tax credits.
Right, because you take 5 million people out of the equation, and it's only 7 million. And then you start to layer on, by the way, the penalties that go up exponentially starting next year. Yeah. I think you said it for the whole time. It's going to collapse on itself.
They're not penalties. They're taxes. But we couldn't admit that because if the Congressional Budget Office found out, that even the Democrats would have voted against it. That's basically his argument from that tape that you just played.
It's just such a pleasure to see Judge Andrew Napolitano laughing about a tax. It's a rarity.
I mean, I'm laughing that the Democrats, and that I'm not blaming one party, although this all was the Democrats. I'm laughing they got caught flat-footed by the blabbing of one of their own.
By the way,
where is it going to go from here? Who knows?
In our next hour, the man who uncovered that video of Mr. Gruber saying, "You're stupid, you voters." Why did it take so long to find that and post it? After all, it was from October 2013.
I don't know.
Only revealed over the weekend and only on Fox, basically, but the only ones that's doing it.
Right.
All right, thanks very much.